I have 2 daughters of my own, and I just really worry about it, and I think that things need to change. There's no reason for that statistic to be there. For a man to be tough, it's not picking on the weak. I think for a man to be tough, he has to stand up for what he believes in and learn to deal with tough issues without resorting to violence. Being physical against people, whether it's anybody else, a man or a woman or a child, to me is not tough. I think people who do that are cowards. The men that are tough, they need to stand up, make a stand, and help speak out against this.
Important messages right there. Are you tough enough to take a stand is the question behind the BC's Toughest Men campaign. Here he is, Paul McCallum from the BC Lions, and Mark Miller, Executive Director from Chimo Community Services. Good morning to you both, and congrats on getting behind an all-important message. And Mark, I'm going to start with you. Hearing these messages that Paul's sharing in the PSA, what are the stats? What are we seeing here in BC when it comes to domestic violence?
Stats continue to increase. We're at a 5-year high in domestic homicides, 14 women killed over the last year, and 1 in 2 women and girls over the age of 16 report some type of sexual or other violence against them. So the stats are, and 80% are attributed to men. So 80% of domestic cases are attributable to men. So. And
Paul, what have you seen? I mean, you mentioned there, 2 daughters for you, no-brainer to come on with this campaign and support the message. What are the conversations that have been had since this is launched early February here?
It's just a disgusting statistic. I mean, like you said, having 2 daughters and knowing there's some issues that you hear about in the news that come up is one thing, but when you really sit and think about 50% of women over the age of 16 are dealing with this, it's ridiculous. So for me, I just think that being able to stand up and talk about this and make more men aware of it, because it's 80% of the violence that's taking place by men. We just have to make people aware of it and bring it to light and do something about it.
And looking at that cause, when you say 80% of these cases being men, what is the cause behind it? What are the triggers that are leading to this type of aggressive behavior?
Well, I think lots of it's intergenerational. It is a men's issue. It's about attitudes towards toughness, attitudes towards violence, and it's something that men need to get involved in talking about and coming up with some solutions. Traditionally, I think it's been an issue that women have tried to deal with as a group, and I think it's going to take men and women working together to come up with some answers on how we change it longer term. And I think just putting it in front of men and getting men to start to talk about it is one small step in the overall solution.
You've signed on, and you've had some colleagues. Tell us about who's come on for this campaign and how you're getting the message out there.
Solomon El-Mimian, he's come on. We have, I'm drawing a blank right now. Was it
Ryan Walter?
Ryan Walter?
Yeah.
Some of the more visible people in the community are stepping forward, because the tough men, so to speak, the hockey players, the football players, and things like that, the stereotypical the strong men. Was it Chris Davies? I mean, these are sports that most men that play are supposed to be really, really tough, but they're stepping up and saying they don't believe in it. They want to step up and say that something has to be done. And just because you're portrayed as being a tough man physically, I mean, just going and doing something physical to somebody else doesn't make you a tough man. I think being able to restrain yourself and deal with it in a more mature way it shows you that you're more of a stronger person than just going out and lashing out. And I think these men that are lashing out, they have issues, because preying on the weak, to me, is not being a strong man at all.
Well, BC'stoughestmen.com is the website to find out more. Mark, I know the campaign is to raise $100,000 for Chimo Community Services and the support for these instances to stop domestic violence. This money raised, how will it be used?
Well, one area that we work in is housing, so providing housing to women and children that are fleeing family violence, and it's really a huge need of affordable housing, in particular in the Lower Mainland, because of housing prices. So we're hoping to build more second stage housing opportunities, housing where women can live, and we can work with them to move on with their life.
We're going to put the details on our Facebook page as well. Congrats to both of you for being important and a part of such an important message leading up until International Women's Day. March 8th is when the campaign ends.